Hey, what's up? Sean Sullivan here for Fisherman's Warehouse, and I just came back from an amazing trip to Magdalena Bay. I was there for the annual Sardine Run that happens down there each fall. It's also known as the Mag Bay Marlin Congregation. And what happens is these sardines come in and spawn outside the entrance of Mag Bay by the millions, and in turn, predators like striped marlin tend to congregate in the area in huge numbers. We saw literally thousands of marlin over the few days that we're there. They're packed into a very tight area. It's about 10 miles south of the entrance, give or take. The fish tend to move around a little bit. Depending on the water conditions and the temperature, they do tend to shift around, but generally they stay packed in and gravitate to wherever the sardines are hanging. This is a very specific kind of fishing that you do down there. We were targeting these marlin using stick baits. These are large floating jigs, very similar to fishing topwater for freshwater bass, striper, stuff like that. We're using these big nomad baits. The one I really like to use is called the Riptide. So we're fishing these striped marlin using these big jigs, and we're casting them on extremely heavy jig sticks. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what your standard setup is. Let's start with the rod. This Phoenix 909XH is a prime example of the kind of rod you would use. It's long. I mean, this thing's got to be 8+ feet long. It's very heavy. You can throw a jig a mile on this. You need to use a rod that can handle heavy line. We're fishing 100-pound braid. I am 80 pounds. Some people will fish that, but I really like the 100-pound braid. You can put the wood to these fish. You can really put some pressure on them when you're using the heavy stuff. These fish are not line shy at all. So you get your bait out there. You're also fishing topwater, so a lot of times your line isn't even an issue. Your line's not going in the water. It's not something they're going to see. You're keeping those baits up on the surface. This J-braid X8, this is 100-pound braid. This is a prime example of something you could spool up with. This is great stuff, but there's a variety of any kind of braided line. 80 to 100 pound is what you're going to want to look at using. With that heavy line, you can really pull on these fish. Something you got to keep in mind with these marlin is they are relatively delicate. Even though they're jumping and flipping and doing all this crazy stuff, these fish can die. And we're trying to release these fish alive. They're beautiful. They're majestic creatures. You don't want to go too crazy on them. The heavy line allows you to sort of dominate the fight. Still gives them a little bit of a fighting chance. They're very strong. But it allows you to get them to the boat quickly and give them a fighting chance on the release. Once you get them to the boat, you fire up the motor a little bit, drag them along at a couple knots, and kind of move them around a little bit. You want to get some oxygen moving over their gills, and then set them loose. But if they dive real deep, or they fight real hard, or the fight extends into an hour or two, or something like that, which can happen on lighter line, these fish tend to wear out. You want to keep that in mind, and in my opinion, using the heavy line is a great way to work in the fish's benefit. Helps you end the fight quicker. Get them to the boat, get them revived, and send them on their way. One of the best reels for fishing these marlin is the Tranx 500 from Shimano. This reel is just an absolute workhorse. It has the level winder. It's such a strong reel. While the retrieve is not one of the fastest, it is fast enough for these marlin. They're not looking for Wahoo speed retrieve. This reel is probably 6.6 to 6.1. 6 times around for one crank of the handle. That's not bad at all. Another reel, of course, is the Lexa 500. That reel is 8 to 1. But what ends up happening with these fast reels is if they're too fast, they tend to skip the lure on the surface. You want that lure to be able to grab a little bit of water when you're retrieving it and kind of get a little bit submerged. Create some disturbance on top, but you don't need to be skipping it between waves or anything like that. And if you start using a reel that's any faster than this Tranx, you will start to get that skipping, and you're going to end up skipping right over those fish. So the 6 to 1 is not bad at all. And this Tranx, you can catch so many fish on this thing. I've been rocking my Tranx 500 for a couple years now, and it just has never required service. It doesn't say you shouldn't get them serviced, but mine has never required any service. I load it up with fresh line when I do a trip like this, and it just performs so well. So this reel with the 100-pound braid on the 909X Extra Heavy from Phoenix is a great setup. Let's talk a little bit about the jigs and the terminal tackle. You're going to want to use heavy fluorocarbon when you're rigging these. This is one example. This Yozuri 200-pound fluorocarbon is a great option for rigging up these baits like the Nomad Riptide Other options include the DTX minnow. This is obviously, it's not a surface lure, but you drag this through through the area, and you're just going to get hammered time after time. This is the sardine color, of course. Those marlin can't resist these nomad lures. They're all over these things. The other one example, of course, is the Mad Mac. I prefer a lure that I can cast, but if trolling's more your thing, or you know you're not especially proficient at getting long distance casts, even with this awesome jig stick right here, throwing one of these on and dragging it through the zone, I mean, you're going to get fish after fish. I mean, there's people out there that are having 40 fish days or more. We caught and released 14 fish on our second day, and we lost another 20 probably that came unhooked and whatnot. So I'm a big advocate of these nomad lures. Everything they make seems to work. And the Mad Mac and the GTX Minnow are no different. These lures work great and can definitely be used out there. And one thing you want to keep in mind is the hooks on these lures, including the Riptide, are not especially designed specifically for marlin. Marlin have a very hard mouth. So what we were doing is we were taking the hooks off these lures and we were re-rigging them with a big single J hook, like this Mustad 8.0 single hook right here, this J hook. This one is a good size, but you can even go bigger on these. But you know, these lures have a circle hook, a pair of dual circle hooks on there. I like to take off that front hook, just get rid of that thing, and just have a hook on the back and go with a big single J hook like this. Another thing you want to do is you want to have it rigged up with 2 split rings. And the reason that is because the way the back of the lure is set up, where the hook connects, if you hook by 1 split ring, the hook tends to lay in a strange way. And so I did notice that when I only had 1 split ring on there, I was missing strikes because of the lure, the way the hook was set up. So what I did was I added a 2nd split ring, and it created this kind of cross like this. When you had the hook attached to the 2nd split ring, it caused the hook to lay with it like this. Rather than sideways, it was laying straight up and down with the hook barb down. When I had it set up with the hook barb down, I instantly started getting hookups on every strike. Now, I didn't lose a single fish once I had that hook situation sorted out. You know, you want to try to do a single hook on the back, and you want to try to use the dual split ring with a big J hook. Once you can do that, you're not going to miss any hookups. You know, I also wanted to mention that a lure like this, this obviously is the Nomad Slide Kick. This is another option out there. This has a split ring on the back. You could rig up something like this with a single hook. It's got a great coating on it. This is an awesome lure. If you wanted to go with something a little bit lighter, that you were a little bit more adept at casting, you know, this is obviously the sardine design with the spots. Rig this up with a single hook, tie this on or crimp it, which is also an option and something that I would definitely think about doing rather than tying knots, because trying to tie that heavy 200-pound fluoro can be a real pain. So I like to use crimps, and they're quick and easy. If you keep the gear on the boat and keep it handy, you can just rip through it, throw a crimp on there and crimp it up and send it on its way. Rig this up with the 200-pound. This is basically a surface iron design. So you're not going to be letting this sink, although it will sink a little bit. But you can rip this across the surface. It's got a great flutter on the top, and the marlin are just absolutely going to destroy this thing. You get that single hook set up on this correctly, throw it out there, and you're going to get whacked. So that's basically the whole layout. You know, the fish are down there every year. It goes through January. It is called the Sardine Run. I call it the Mag Bay Marlin Congregation. You know, you can stay inside the harbor or inside the bay at Magdalena Bay. I work with Sport Fishing Mag Bay. They're a great operation. They have a whale camp. They call it the whale camp because they've got 2 giant whale skeletons up on the hill above there, and it's kind of a glamping situation. They've got these tents set up. They're really nice, and right in the middle is a big restaurant where they serve absolutely fabulous food. They'll bring you lobster if you want it. They'll cook your fish for you if you want it. They have great guacamole and chips and beers if you want them, whatever you need. The people are absolutely fabulous. It's a wonderful group of people. So that's Sport Fishing Mag Bay. You can check them out online. I'll put the URL below so you can go there and click and check it out. But check them out. And if you want to do that, they also do fishing all times of year inside the bay, and they do kind of inshore for grouper and yellowtail and all these other species when the marlin aren't happening. Beautiful. These guys also run whale tours. And, you know, if you decide you want to go and check out the whales, they run a thing where you can actually pet the whales. The whales will come up to the boat. They've got a great operation there that runs from January through March and beyond. when the whales kind of tend to congregate off of that part of Baja. So if whales are your thing, make sure and go check them out. That's Sport Fishing Mag Bay or Magdalena Bay Whales. They're a great operation, great people. And if you want to have the experience of a lifetime, get down there and check out the Marlin congregation, the Sardine Run. You can jump in the water and swim with these Marlin. It's absolutely an incredible experience. And if you've never caught a Marlin before, there are so many Marlin down there that you just got to get a bait in the water or get a jig in the water right in the zone, and you're absolutely going to get bit. You're going to catch more Marlin than you know what to do with. So get down there, check it out. It's awesome. And all this stuff is available at Fisherman's Warehouse. Check it out online or at any of our 4 locations. If you have any questions, my name's Sean. Give me a call down at the office. I'm more than happy to help you out. And good luck and tight lines.